The text message from my son contained exactly 9 words. "Don't come to the wedding. Saskia doesn't want you there." I read it 3 times, each word burning itself deeper into my mind. Then I opened my banking app and started canceling checks. $50,000. Enough to buy a car. Enough to live comfortably for a year. And I just handed it over to a stranger who was trying to erase me from my son's life. My name is Sheila Redford, and I'm 66 years old. For 30 years, I taught high school English in suburban Ohio, shaping young minds and grading countless essays about Shakespeare and Steinbeck. I retired 5 years ago, around the same time I lost my husband Robert to a sudden heart attack. The house we'd built together, a modest 3-bedroom colonial on Maple Drive, became my sanctuary. Robert's life insurance and pension left me comfortable, not wealthy, but secure enough to enjoy my golden years without worry. We had 1 child, Leo, my beautiful, sensitive boy who'd grown into a 33-year-old man still searching for his footing in the world. Leo was 10 when Robert died. I watched my sunny, artistic child retreat into himself, emerging years later as someone who wanted desperately to please everyone around him. Maybe that was my fault. Maybe I'd held on too tight, trying to be both mother and father. But we'd always been close. Or so I thought. After college, Leo bounced between graphic design jobs, never quite finding the right fit. His income hovered around $42,000 a year, enough to survive in Cleveland, but not enough to thrive. I helped where I could. A few thousand when his car broke down. Rent money when a freelance gig fell through. Credit card payments when things got tight. What else are mothers for? Our Sunday dinners were sacred. Every week for 23 years, Leo would show up at 6 o'clock. We'd cook together, laugh, talk about his week, his dreams, his struggles. It was our tradition, our connection, our lifeline to each other. Then, 18 months ago, everything changed. Her name was Saskia. She arrived like a tornado, all dark hair, bright lipstick, and expensive tastes that didn't quite match her salary as a marketing coordinator making $38,000 a year. Leo was instantly smitten. "Mom, she's different," he gushed during one of our Sunday dinners, the first time he brought her. "She believes in me. She sees my potential." I wanted to be happy for him. I truly did. But something felt off from the very beginning, like a note played slightly out of tune. Wrong enough to notice, but not wrong enough to name. Saskia was beautiful, I'll give her that. 29 years old with a sophistication that seemed practiced rather than natural. Her clothes were designer, I recognized the labels from window shopping, yet she claimed to be struggling financially. Her laugh was musical but never quite reached her eyes. And the way she looked at my son, it wasn't love I saw there. It was calculation. The first warning sign came in February, just 2 months into their relationship. "I loaned Saskia $6,500, Leo mentioned casually over pot roast. "Emergency dental surgery. Her insurance wouldn't cover it." My fork paused halfway to my mouth. "That's quite a lot, sweetheart." "Are you sure?" "Mom!" His face darkened, a storm cloud passing over features that usually held only sunshine. "You don't even know her. She's going through a rough time. I thought you'd understand. You always said you'd support me." I backed off. The last thing I wanted was to be that mother, the interfering, judgmental one who drove her son away. So I smiled and changed the subject even as unease settled in my stomach like a stone. The second warning sign was subtler, a slow erosion rather than a sudden crack. Our Sunday dinners became bi-weekly, then monthly, then, "I'm so sorry, Mom, but we're busy this weekend." When they did come over, Saskia dominated every conversation. If I tried to share a childhood memory of Leo, his first day of school, the time he built that elaborate tree house, his obsession with dinosaurs at age 7, her hand would land possessively on his arm. "Leo's focused on his future now, not the past," she'd say with a smile that never reached those calculating eyes. I noticed other things, too. How she'd answer his phone when I called. How she'd accidentally mention decisions they'd made together that Leo had never discussed with me. How she slowly, methodically, was severing the threads that connected my son to his history, to his family, to me. In May, Leo lost his phone. When I called to check on him, Saskia answered. "Oh, Sheila, I'm so glad you called. Did you know Leo's thinking about going freelance? I'm encouraging him to leave his company. It'll be so much better for his growth, more independence, you know?" My stomach clenched. Leo's steady job was the only thing keeping him afloat financially. Freelance graphic design in Cleveland was feast or famine, and Leo had never been good at managing the famine. But again, I said nothing. I was so afraid of being the controlling mother, the one who couldn't let go, that I let my son slip further away from me with every passing week. Then came the engagement. I didn't find out through a phone call or a visit. I found out through an Instagram story, a photo of Saskia's hand, a diamond ring glittering on her finger. 2 carats, at least. I did the math quickly. $12,000, maybe more. 3 months of Leo's salary, gone in a single purchase. When I finally got through to congratulate them, Saskia answered Leo's phone. "Oh, Mom, Sheila." Her voice dripped with sugary sweetness. "We're super excited. We're thinking a June wedding, something really elegant. Of course." As she paused delicately. "My family can't really help with costs. They're going through some things. But Leo said you've always told him you'd help when he needed it. You meant that, right?" What could I say? Of course I meant it. So I said yes. The request started immediately. July. "Mom, we need $6,000 for the venue deposit. It's the Riverside Estate, the only place that still has availability for next June. It's Saskia's dream venue." August. "The caterer needs $9,500. We're expecting 150 guests, and Saskia wants everything perfect. You understand, right?" September. "The photographer is $8,000. But Mom, he's the best in Cleveland. This is once in a lifetime." October. "Saskia found the perfect dress. With alterations, it's $5,500. But you should see her in it, Mom. She looks like a princess." November. "The flowers and decor are $7,000. Saskia has this romantic garden theme planned. It's going to be beautiful." December. "We need $11,000 for the band and the honeymoon. Saskia found this amazing jazz ensemble, and we're doing 10 days in Hawaii. Isn't that exciting?" Every single time it was Leo who called. Never Saskia. His voice would be tight with stress, apologetic but insistent. "I know it's a lot, Mom, but Saskia's family really can't help, and this is our special day. You've always said you'd be there for me. You meant that, right?" And every single time I wrote the check. Because that's what mothers do. We sacrifice. We give. We love unconditionally. Even when a voice in the back of our minds whispers that something is wrong, we silence it with love. By April, I'd transferred $47,000. My savings account, which had held a comfortable $133,000, now showed $86,000. I told myself it was worth it. This was my son's happiness. This was his future. What's money compared to that? But here's what gnawed at me. I'd never received a formal wedding invitation. I'd never been invited to dress shopping or venue visits. I'd never met the caterer or seen the flowers Saskia had chosen. Every time I asked, there was an excuse. "The wedding planner has everything. We'll show you when it's all coming together. We want it to be a surprise." I should have pushed. I should have demanded to see contracts, receipts, proof that my money was going where Leo said it was. But I was so desperate to maintain our relationship, so terrified of being the difficult mother-in-law before I even became one, that I stayed silent. And then, 2 months before the wedding, the bomb dropped. It was a Wednesday afternoon. I was in my garden, tending to the roses Robert had planted years ago, when my phone rang. Saskia's name flashed on the screen. "Hello, sweetheart," I answered, trying to inject warmth into my voice. "Sheila," her voice was ice. No greeting, no pleasantries. "We need to talk about the wedding." Something in her tone made my hands go cold. "Of course, I'm going to be direct. Leo and I have discussed this extensively, and we both feel it's best if you don't attend the ceremony." The words didn't make sense at first. They were sounds without meaning, syllables that my brain couldn't quite process into coherence. What? Your negative energy has been affecting our relationship from the beginning, Sheila. The constant judgment, the interference. Leo and I need to start our life together without that kind of toxicity. We've decided it's better this way. I haven't interfered. I've only supported. This is our decision. Her voice was final, a door slamming shut. Leo agrees. It's what's best for us. We'll send you photos. She hung up. I stood there in my garden, phone in my trembling hand, dirt under my fingernails, the scent of roses suddenly cloying and sickening. 30 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a text message from Leo. Mom, I'm sorry, but Saskia's right. Don't come to the wedding. She doesn't want you there. It's better this way. I didn't cry. Tears would come later, in the dark hours of the night when the full weight of betrayal would crash over me. But in that moment, standing in my garden, I felt something else entirely. Clarity. Cold, crystalline clarity that cut through 18 months of doubt and confusion. I walked inside, washed the dirt from my hands, and sat down at my kitchen table. Then I opened my laptop and created a new spreadsheet. Every payment, every date, every excuse Leo had given me. The pattern was sickeningly clear. The Riverside Estates website listed Saturday rates starting at $2,800, not $6,000. Crystal Moments Photography offered packages from $2,500 to $4,200, not $8,000. Elegance Catering charged $40 per person for premium service. For 150 guests, that should have been $6,500 maximum, including service charges. Not $9,500. I kept digging. By the time the sun set, I had a complete picture. A beautiful wedding in Cleveland could be done for $25,000, maybe $30,000 if you wanted luxury. So where had the other $17,000 to $22,000 gone? I sat in my quiet house and thought about Robert. He would have known what to do. He would have seen through Saskia from the beginning. Trust your gut, Maggie, he used to say. It's rarely wrong. My gut had been screaming for months. I'd just been too afraid to listen. Not anymore. I picked up my phone and called my bank. Yes, I need to report fraudulent use of my funds and request immediate stop payment on several checks. The representative was professional, but cautious. Mrs. Redford, you say these checks were written under duress? I chose my words carefully. I was told the money was for specific wedding expenses. I've now been uninvited from the wedding and denied any access to planning or receipts. I have reason to believe the funds weren't used as stated. I see. Unfortunately, many of your checks have already cleared. We can place stops on the 3 most recent ones, totaling approximately $14,000. But the rest? She paused delicately. The rest has already been withdrawn. $33,000. Gone. But $14,000 would send a message. After I hung up, I did what I should have done months ago. I opened Google and searched. Family lawyer Cleveland elder financial abuse. The term made me pause. Elder abuse. Was that what this was? I was only 66, hardly elderly. But as I read the definition, financial exploitation by family members, often involving manipulation of gifts or loans from older relatives, my hands began to shake. That's exactly what this was. I found a lawyer named Patricia Brennan who specialized in these cases. I requested a consultation for Monday morning. Then I drafted an email to Leo. No emotion, no accusations, just business. Dear Leo, for tax purposes, I need receipts for all wedding expenses I contributed to. Please send itemized invoices from the venue, caterer, photographer, florist, and travel agent by Friday. Thank you. I hit send. Then I turned off my phone and poured myself a glass of wine. For the first time in months, I felt like I was acting instead of reacting, like I had some small measure of control back. The storm was coming. I could feel it building, pressure mounting in the atmosphere around me. But Sheila Redford was ready. My phone started ringing at 9 o'clock that evening. I stared at Leo's name flashing on the screen. Once, twice, 3 times. I let every call go to voicemail. Then the text messages started flooding in. Mom, there's a problem with the checks. The florist says your payment bounced. The honeymoon deposit was declined. Call me back right now. I poured another glass of wine and turned my phone face down on the counter. The buzzing continued, insistent, desperate, angry. Around 10:30, Saskia's name appeared. I made myself read her message. Sheila, I don't know what game you're playing, but it stops now. Leo is devastated. You're destroying your relationship with your son over money. How pathetic. Call us immediately and fix this. The venom was unmistakable. No more sugary sweetness, no more fake concern, just pure, undiluted rage. Good. Angry people make mistakes. I went to bed and slept better than I had in months. Monday morning arrived gray and cold, matching my mood perfectly. I dressed in my navy suit, the one I used to wear for parent-teacher conferences when I needed to project authority, and drove downtown to Patricia Brennan's office. The building was modest, professional without being ostentatious. I appreciated that. I'd had enough of expensive facades. Patricia Brennan was a woman in her early 50s with steel-gray hair pulled back in a practical bun and eyes that missed nothing. She gestured me into a comfortable chair across from her desk. Mrs. Redford, she began, reviewing the documents I'd sent ahead. You've been very thorough. That's good. Now walk me through the relationship dynamic. I told her everything. Leo's dependency, Saskia's arrival, the gradual isolation, the escalating financial requests, the disinvitation. Patricia listened without interrupting, making notes in neat, precise handwriting. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. Have you received any receipts or proof that your money went to wedding expenses? No, I requested them via email Friday. No response yet. And these checks, they were given freely? No forgery? No coercion in the criminal sense? I wrote them willingly, I said carefully, but I was told they were for specific purposes. Patricia nodded slowly. Legally, gifts are difficult to reclaim. However, if we can prove fraud, that they misrepresented how the money would be used, you might have a case. She paused, her expression serious. But Mrs. Redford, I need you to understand something. Pursuing this could permanently damage your relationship with your son. It's already damaged, I said quietly. He banned me from his wedding after I gave him $47,000. Then let's see what we're dealing with. Patricia pulled out a legal pad. First, we send a formal demand letter requesting full accounting of all funds. If they refuse or the numbers don't add up, we move to depositions. I'll also have my investigator do some preliminary work on Saskia. She paused, studying my face. Mrs. Redford, women like this, they often have histories. I left her office feeling simultaneously validated and terrified. This was real now. Official. There was no going back. At home, I finally listened to Leo's voicemails. The first few were panicked. Mom, what happened? Why did the checks bounce? Call me back, please. By the fourth, anger crept in. This is really immature, Mom. You're trying to sabotage our wedding because you're jealous. The last one, from Sunday night, was different. Saskia's voice, not Leo's. Margaret, I don't know what game you're playing, but it stops now. Leo is devastated. You're destroying your relationship with your son over money. How pathetic. Call us immediately and fix this. I saved every message, documentation, evidence, building my case brick by brick. That afternoon, Patricia sent the formal demand letter via email to Leo, with her firm CC'd. The response was immediate, an explosion of calls and texts. Leo, lawyers? Mom, how could you? I can't believe you're doing this. Saskia, you'll regret this. You're going to lose your son forever over your pathetic need for control. I responded to none of them. Tuesday afternoon, an email arrived from an unfamiliar address, julia.morrison.fh@gmail.com. Subject line, about Saskia. My cursor hovered over the delete button. Spam? A trick? But something made me open it. Ms. Redford, my name is Julia Morrison. I don't know you, but I saw your name on a legal document request that crossed my desk at work. I'm a paralegal at Harrison & Klein. 4 years ago, I was engaged to someone named Saskia Brennan. Same person as your son's fiancée. I checked her photo on Leo's Facebook. She did to my father exactly what she's doing to you. Took $35,000 for a wedding. Called it off 3 weeks before the date. Disappeared with the money. My dad was too ashamed to pursue it legally, but I think someone should stop her. If you want to talk, call me. Phone number, Julia M. My heart hammered against my ribs. I read it 3 times, then immediately called Patricia. This could be it, Patricia said, excitement evident in her usually controlled voice. If we can establish a pattern of behavior, fraud becomes much easier to prove. Contact her, get details, but be careful. We need everything documented. I called Julia that evening. She was 31, soft-spoken, but with an undercurrent of anger that hadn't faded with time. She's a professional con artist, Julia said flatly. She targets older men or men with parents who have money. Gets engaged fast, pressures for wedding funds, then ghosts. Sometimes she actually marries them and divorces within a year, taking half. Has anyone pressed charges? I asked, horrified. Shame, embarrassment. She's smart about keeping things just legal enough. The money's usually given as gifts, hard to prove fraud, and the men always defend her at first. Julia's voice softened. My dad's friend from his support group. Yes, there's an actual support group for her victims, said she's done this at least 6 or 7 times. 6 times? I could barely process it. Why hasn't anyone... Because of this. Her voice turned bitter. Because it's humiliating to admit you were fooled. Because she makes them feel like it's their fault. Mrs. Redford, my dad almost lost everything. Not just money, his self-respect, his confidence, his ability to trust. It took him years to recover. Leo's defending her now, I whispered. He will until he can't anymore. But Mrs. Redford, I'll help however I can. I'll testify if needed. Just please don't let her get away with it again. After we hung up, I sat in the darkness for a long time. This wasn't just about my money anymore. This was about protecting my son from a predator, even if he hated me for it. I forwarded Julia's contact information to Patricia with a simple message. We proceed, whatever it takes. The point of no return had passed. Thursday morning, Patricia called with news. The investigator found something. Saskia's been running a credit scheme. She opens cards in victims' names using their personal information, runs up debt, then disappears before they realize. Oh my God. Leo's credit. Already compromised. The investigator found 3 cards opened in his name in the past 6 months. Total charges, $41,000. 0 payments made. I felt sick. Can we stop her? Better than that. She has warrants in 2 states for identity theft. Small amounts, misdemeanors mostly, but it's a pattern. Mrs. Redford, this changes things. We're not just looking at civil fraud anymore. This could be criminal. What does that mean for Leo? It means he can file a police report as a victim. His debt gets flagged as fraud, which helps him. And it means Saskia has bigger problems than your lawsuit. She's going to be focused on avoiding jail, not getting money from you. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt something like hope. Do it, I said. Whatever we need to do. That afternoon, Leo filed a police report with the Cleveland Police Department. By evening, Detective Rosa Torres was reviewing his case. Friday morning, I looked out my kitchen window and froze. Saskia's car was parked across the street, just sitting there, watching my house. My hands shook as I called Patricia. Don't engage, Patricia said sharply. If she approaches, call 911. I'm filing for a restraining order today. Saskia sat there for 3 hours. I watched her from behind my curtains, my phone clutched in my hand, every muscle tense. Finally, she drove away. I triple-checked every lock that night and slept with my phone on the nightstand. Saturday morning, I was in my garden trying to find some semblance of peace among my roses when I heard a car door slam. I looked up to see Leo and Saskia walking up my driveway together. My stomach dropped. What was he doing with her? Mom, Leo said, his voice carefully neutral. Saskia wanted to come talk to you. I thought maybe we should hear her out. Every instinct screamed danger. But Leo was here. He wouldn't let anything happen. Would he? Come inside, he said. We sat in my living room, me on one side, them on the sofa opposite. Saskia's face was a mask of contrition, but her eyes were calculating, watching my every reaction. Sheila, she began softly, I want to start by saying I'm sorry, truly sorry. I know things got out of hand, the money, the wedding, everything. I was overwhelmed and I made mistakes. I said nothing, just watched her. I know you're working with lawyers, she continued. I know Leo filed that police report, and I understand why. I do. She leaned forward earnestly. But I'm asking you, as someone who loves your son, to reconsider. Reconsider what exactly? I asked evenly. All of it. The investigation, the charges, the hostility. She reached for Leo's hand. Look, I can admit I'm not good with money. I have debt, yes. I've made bad decisions, yes. But I never meant to hurt anyone, especially not Leo. Especially not you. Saskia, I said carefully, you've run this scheme on at least 6 other men. You've used aliases. You've stolen identities. That's not good with money. That's criminal activity. Her mask slipped for just a second, a flash of cold fury before the sweet expression returned. Those situations were different, complicated, exaggerated by angry exes. She squeezed Leo's hand. But fine. If you want to believe the worst about me, I can't stop you. But think about Leo, your son, the man you raised. Are you really willing to destroy his happiness over money? His happiness? I kept my voice level. Saskia, you put him $41,000 in debt. You isolated him from his family. You stole his identity to open credit cards. That's not love. I made mistakes. Her voice rose slightly before she caught herself. People make mistakes, Sheila, but instead of helping us work through this, you've turned it into some witch hunt. Her eyes glistened now, tears I didn't believe for a second. I know I don't come from money like you do. I know I've struggled, but I was trying to give Leo a beautiful wedding, a beautiful life. If I got some details wrong, if I spent too much, it's because I wanted everything perfect for him. Then show me the receipts, I said simply. Prove the money went where you said it did. That's all I've ever asked. Silence. Saskia's jaw tightened. I told you some vendors won't cooperate because of this legal mess you created. That's not an answer. Mom, Leo interjected, looking pained. Maybe if we just dropped the police report, Saskia could— No! My voice was firm. Leo, look at me. Really look at me. When have I ever tried to control your life? When have I ever disapproved of your choices without reason? I supported every dream, every job change, every relationship until this one. Doesn't that tell you something? Saskia stood abruptly. This is pointless. She's made up her mind. She'd rather have you alone and miserable than see you happy with me. That's not true, Leo started. It is true. Saskia's voice turned sharp, the mask cracking. She's a lonely, bitter old woman who can't stand that you chose someone over her. This has always been about jealousy, Leo. Can't you see that? The mask was fully off now. Her face twisted with genuine rage. Watch how you speak to my mother, Leo said quietly, standing too. Or what? You'll call the lawyers? The police? God, you're such a mama's boy. Saskia laughed harshly. You know what? Fine. Keep your mother. Keep her money. I hope you're both very happy together in this sad little house, living your sad little lives. She grabbed her purse, but before leaving, she turned to me, and her voice dropped to something cold and venomous. You think you've won. You think your lawyers and your evidence mean something. But I promise you, Sheila, you'll regret this. I know how to hurt people. And you just made an enemy. She stormed out. The front door slammed hard enough to rattle the pictures on my wall. Leo stood frozen, staring after her. Then he looked at me, his face pale. Mom, did she threaten you? Yes, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Yes, she did. I should go. I should stay, I said firmly. Leo, stay here. Don't go after her." He sank back onto the couch, putting his head in his hands. What have I done? What the hell have I done? After Leo left, with promises to stay with a friend, to change his locks, to be careful, I called Patricia and recounted everything. "That's a direct threat," Patricia said grimly. "I'll have the restraining order expedited. In the meantime, be careful, Sheila. Document everything. If she comes near you, call 911 immediately." That night I checked every lock 3 times. I slept with my phone on the nightstand. Every sound made me jump, but underneath the fear was something else, something harder. She'd shown her true face, and now I knew exactly who I was fighting. Sunday morning, I woke to a text from Leo. "Mom, Saskia just told me she's pregnant. 6 weeks. I don't know what to do." My heart sank. This was the final weapon, the perfect leverage. I called Patricia immediately. "It's one of the oldest tricks in the book," Patricia said. "Does she have proof? Ultrasound? Blood test?" Leo didn't mention any. "Then demand it. If she's actually pregnant, there will be medical evidence. If she refuses to provide it, we know it's a lie. Mrs. Redford, don't let this shake you. This is manipulation 101. I called Leo. "Sweetheart," I said gently, "have you seen test results? An ultrasound? Confirmation from a doctor?" "She said she'll make an appointment, but—" "Leo, listen to me. This is one of the oldest tricks in the book. I need you to demand medical proof. Go with her to the appointment. See the doctor yourself. If it's real, we'll deal with it. But if she refuses—" A long pause. "Then it's another lie." "Exactly." Monday afternoon, Leo called back. His voice was hollow. "She said she won't prove the pregnancy because the stress could cause a miscarriage and it would be your fault. Then she blocked me." Silence stretched between us. "There's no baby, is there?" he finally asked. "No, sweetheart. There's no baby." Tuesday afternoon, my phone rang. Detective Torres. "Mrs. Redford, we'd like you to come down to the station. We have some developments in the case. Saskia has agreed to meet with you and your son in the presence of law enforcement. She claims she wants to set the record straight." Patricia was against it. "It's a trap. She's going to try to manipulate the narrative in front of police." "Let her try," I said. I was tired of being afraid. "I want this finished." Wednesday at 2 p.m., I walked into the police station with Patricia beside me. Leo was already there, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Detective Rosa Torres, a woman in her mid-40s with kind eyes and an iron handshake, led us to a conference room. Saskia was already seated, accompanied by a public defender she'd apparently acquired. She looked different, less polished, more desperate. Her designer clothes were gone, replaced by jeans and a simple sweater. Her hair was pulled back severely. She was playing the victim now. "Thank you all for coming," Detective Torres began. "Ms. Morrison has requested this meeting to provide her side of the story. However, I should inform everyone that based on our investigation, we have substantial evidence of fraud and identity theft. Ms. Morrison, you're aware this conversation can be used in court?" Saskia's lawyer nodded. Saskia herself looked at Leo, her eyes brimming with tears. "I just want Leo to know the truth. I need him to understand." "Then let's hear it," Patricia said crisply. "Start with the $47,000 Mrs. Redford gave you for wedding expenses. Where did it go?" Saskia took a shaky breath. "Some of it went to the wedding. The venue, the dress." "How much?" Patricia pressed. I'm not sure exactly." Detective Torres slid a folder across the table. "We contacted every vendor you claim to have booked. The Riverside estate confirms a deposit of $2,000, not $6. Elegance Catering has no record of you at all. Crystal Moments Photography confirms an initial consultation but no contract. The florist—" "Okay," Saskia's voice cracked. "Okay, fine. I didn't spend all of it on the wedding. I had debts. I had bills. I needed the money." "So you lied," I said quietly. "You looked my son in the eye and you lied." "I was desperate." Tears spilled down her cheeks. Real ones this time, I thought. Not from remorse, but from being caught. You don't know what it's like, living paycheck to paycheck, always drowning. Leo's mom had money and I thought she wouldn't miss it. Wouldn't miss $47,000, Leo said, his voice hollow. I was going to pay it back. Eventually, after we were married, when things stabilized. After you had legal claim to half his assets in a divorce, Patricia interjected. Like you did with James Brennan. Saskia's face flushed. That was different. Was it? Detective Torres opened another file. Ms. Morrison, we've been in contact with authorities in Arizona and Nevada. Your pattern is clear. You target men, usually with family money, extract funds under false pretenses, then move on. You've been doing this for at least 7 years. Those men were vindictive liars. We have testimony from 6 different victims, the detective continued calmly. Bank records, credit card statements. In Mr. Redford's case alone, you opened 3 credit cards in his name using information you had access to, charged $41,000 and made no payments. Leo's face went white. $41,000? Saskia turned to him desperately. Baby, please, you have to believe me. I was going to pay it back. I love you. Everything got out of control, but I was going to fix it. Your mom ruined everything by going to lawyers. Ruined what? I asked, my voice ice. Leo would be $90,000 in debt. I'd be broke, and you'd be gone. That was the plan, wasn't it? You don't understand. Saskia's voice rose. None of you understand. I had a hard life. I didn't have parents who could pay for everything. I had to survive by stealing, Leo said, his voice breaking. By destroying people. I never destroyed anyone. They all moved on. They all survived. Except for Marcus Sullivan, Detective Torres said quietly, sliding a newspaper clipping across the table. Your ex-husband in Nevada. 18 months after your divorce, after you drained his savings and ruined his credit, he attempted suicide. He survived, but he lost his business, his home, his reputation. The room went silent. Saskia stared at the article, her face draining of color. You told me he abused you, Leo whispered. You said he hurt you. He did, Saskia said weakly. He called me names when he found out about the money. That's not abuse, Saskia, Patricia said coldly. That's a man discovering he'd been robbed. Saskia looked around the room. Seeing no sympathy anywhere, her expression changed. The victim act dissolved into something harder, more feral. Fine, she said flatly. Fine. You want the truth? Yes, I took the money. Yes, I lied. But you know what? They all deserved it. Rich, entitled people who never struggled a day in their lives. Looking down on someone like me, she pointed at me, especially Leo's mother, so high and mighty, so perfect, writing checks and acting like a saint. You wanted to own him. You wanted control. I just beat you at your own game. My game, I said softly, was loving my son. Your game was making him dependent on you, Saskia shot back. He was 35 and still calling Mommy for money. I tried to make him independent. I tried to give him a life. You tried to rob him, Leo said, standing. His voice was steady now, cold. And you almost succeeded. But you made one mistake. What's that? You went after my mother, and she was strong enough to fight back. Saskia's face twisted with rage. You'll regret this. All of you. You'll what? Detective Torres interrupted. Ms. Morrison, you're currently facing charges of identity theft, credit card fraud, and wire fraud across multiple states. You need to focus on your own situation. The fight drained out of Saskia. She slumped in her chair, suddenly looking older, harder. Her lawyer leaned in, whispered something. She nodded mutely. My client would like to discuss a plea agreement, he said. Patricia looked at me. I looked at Leo. He gave a small nod. Talk to the DA, Patricia said. Full restitution to all victims, including Mrs. Redford and her son. Guilty plea. And Saskia never contacts this family again. Saskia didn't even look up. We walked out of the police station into afternoon sunshine. Leo stopped on the steps, breathing deeply. It's over. It's actually over. Not quite, Patricia said. There's still paperwork, court dates, restitution negotiations, but the worst is past. Leo turned to me, tears in his eyes. Mom, I'm so sorry. For everything. For bringing her into our lives. For the things I said. I pulled him into a hug. Shh. You're my son. We're going to be okay. We stood there for a long moment, holding each other in the sunlight. For the first time in months, I felt like we might actually heal. But I should have known better. Saskia wasn't finished yet. The resolution came faster than I expected. Saskia's public defender convinced her that fighting was pointless, given the mountain of evidence stacked against her. 3 weeks after that meeting at the police station, we stood in a courtroom as she pleaded guilty to multiple counts of fraud and identity theft. Judge Carol Henderson was a stern woman in her early 60s with silver hair and an expression that suggested she'd seen every con and heard every excuse. She listened as the district attorney outlined Saskia's 7-year pattern of financial predation. 5 victims testified briefly, their stories painting a devastating picture. Marcus Morrison, Julia's father, was first. A man in his mid-60s with tired eyes and shoulders that seemed to carry the weight of shame. I lost $35,000, he said, his voice steady but soft. But the money wasn't the worst part. It was the shame, feeling foolish. I couldn't look my daughter in the eye for months. I started drinking more, nearly lost my job. He paused, looking directly at Saskia. This woman doesn't just take money, she takes dignity. James Brennan was next, early 40s, successful looking but with an edge of wariness that hadn't been there before, I suspected. I married her. 9 months. By month 6, our joint account was empty. My credit was destroyed. She filed for divorce and vanished with $48,000. It took me 3 years to recover financially. I still can't fully trust people. David Hartley, the Arizona victim, spoke third. She said we'd start a business together. I invested $28,000. There was no business, just empty promises and a disconnected phone number. When it was Leo's turn, he read a statement with a steady voice that broke only once. I loved her. I believed everything she told me. She made me feel special, necessary, important. And then she destroyed me financially. She almost cost me my relationship with my mother, the one person who's always been there for me. I'll be paying off the consequences of trusting Saskia for years, but at least now I'm free of her. When he sat down beside me, I took his hand and squeezed. He squeezed back. Finally, Judge Henderson asked if Saskia had anything to say. Saskia stood. For a moment, I thought she might actually show remorse, express regret for the pain she'd caused. Instead, she said flatly, I did what I had to do to survive. No apology, no acknowledgement of the destruction she'd left in her wake. Just survival. Judge Henderson's expression hardened. Ms. Morrison, you didn't steal to survive. You stole because you're a predator who targets vulnerable people. You're sentenced to 5 years in state prison, followed by 5 years of probation. Additionally, you're ordered to pay full restitution to all victims, totaling approximately $214,000. Court is adjourned. Saskia was led away in handcuffs. She didn't look back. Outside the courthouse, Patricia congratulated us. Restitution will take years to collect, even with wage garnishment after she's released. But at least there's a judgment. And more importantly, she's out of your lives. Will we get any of the money back? Leo asked. Some. Probably not all. But Mrs. Redford, you may be able to recover at least a portion through the Victim Restitution Fund and her future wages. I realized I didn't care about the money anymore. Not really. What mattered was that Leo was safe, that Saskia would think twice before doing this to someone else, that justice, imperfect as it was, had been served. But we weren't done yet. 2 weeks after the sentencing, Saskia was ordered to self-surrender to begin her prison term. The date was set, Monday 9 a.m., Sunday night at 11:30, my phone rang. Detective Torres. Mrs. Redford, Saskia didn't show up at her registered address. We believe she's attempting to flee. There's an APB out. Does she know anyone in the area? Friends? Acquaintances? My heart began to race. I don't know. Leo might. We've called him. He doesn't know either. Mrs. Redford, if she contacts you, do not engage. Call 911 immediately. She's desperate, and desperate people are unpredictable. I hung up and triple-checked every lock in the house. Sleep was impossible. Every sound made me jump. The creak of settling wood, the rustle of wind through the trees, the distant bark of a neighbor's dog. Around 3 a.m., I finally dozed off sitting up in my bedroom chair, phone clutched in my hand. I woke to the sound of breaking glass. For a moment, I couldn't process what I was hearing. My brain, foggy with interrupted sleep, struggled to make sense of the crash from downstairs, the tinkle of shattered glass hitting hardwood floor. Then reality slammed into me like cold water. Someone was in my house. My hands shook as I grabbed my phone and dialed 911, whispering urgently. Someone broke into my house. 428 Maple Drive. Please hurry. Mrs. Redford? A voice from downstairs. Saskia's voice, high and unhinged. I know you're awake. Come down here. We need to talk. My blood turned to ice. Ma'am, stay on the line, the 911 operator said calmly. Officers are en route, 3 minutes away. Is there a safe place you can lock yourself? I was already moving toward my bedroom door, turning the lock with trembling fingers. My closet. I could hide in the closet. Sheila! Saskia screamed from below. You took everything from me. My life, my future. So now I'm going to take something from you. Footsteps on the stairs. Heavy, quick, purposeful. I ducked into my closet, pulling the door shut, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. The operator's voice continued in my ear, steady and calm, a lifeline to sanity. 2 minutes, Mrs. Redford. Stay quiet. Stay hidden. The footsteps reached the top of the stairs. Then the doorknob to my bedroom rattled violently. Open this door! Saskia shrieked. Open it! A thud. She was kicking it. Once, twice. The door held, but barely. I know what you did to me. Made me look like a fool, like a criminal. This is all your fault. Another kick. The wood around the lock was starting to splinter. Sirens. Faint at first, then growing louder. No. Saskia's voice changed, panic replacing rage. No, 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 no! The footsteps thundered back down the stairs. The front door slammed. Mrs. Redford, officers have arrived. Stay where you are until they confirm it's safe. I crouched in my closet, shaking uncontrollably, listening to the commotion downstairs. Shouting voices, running footsteps, then finally a knock on my bedroom door. Mrs. Redford, this is Officer Chen, Cleveland PD. You're safe now. We've apprehended the suspect attempting to flee the property. I emerged from my closet on legs that barely supported me. Officer Chen was young, professional, concerned. Are you hurt, ma'am? No, just scared. That's completely understandable. We need you to come downstairs and give a statement. Outside, Saskia was in handcuffs in the back of a patrol car, screaming incoherently. Detective Torres arrived 15 minutes later. Breaking and entering, property destruction, terroristic threatening, she said, making notes. This adds significant time to her sentence. Mrs. Redford, I'm sorry you had to go through this. Leo arrived 20 minutes after that, his face pale with fear. He pulled me into a fierce hug. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I brought her into our lives. Shh, it's over. It's really over now. And this time, I believed it. The next 6 months were about recovery. It wasn't instantaneous. It wasn't a fairy tale. It was slow, painful work, like healing from a deep wound that had infected everything around it. Leo moved into a small apartment downtown, determined to stand on his own feet. We drew up a formal loan agreement at Patricia's insistence, with a payment plan, interest rates, everything in writing. I need to prove to myself I can do this, Leo explained during one of our resumed Sunday dinners. I need to be an actual adult, not a kid relying on Mom. I was proud of him. He found a better job at a design firm, impressing them with his portfolio. He started seeing a therapist who specialized in trauma recovery. "She's helping me understand how Saskia manipulated me," he told me one evening. "The isolation, the love bombing, the way she made me feel like everything was my fault. It was textbook." "You're not alone in falling for it," I reminded him. "She was a professional." "Still, I should have seen the signs." He paused. "You did." "I had distance and life experience, and I'd recently lost your father. I knew what real love looked like. What Saskia offered wasn't it." 3 months after the sentencing, I received a check from the State Victim Restitution Fund. $11,000, the first of what would be many small payments. I deposited it and immediately set up a savings account in Leo's name, adding to it monthly. When he was ready, when he'd healed, it would be there for something real. A house down payment, maybe, or seed money for his own design business. Recovery wasn't just about money, though. It was about rebuilding trust, reestablishing boundaries, learning to recognize red flags. I joined a support group for victims of family financial abuse. Hearing other people's stories, how their own children, siblings, parents had manipulated and stolen from them, helped me understand I wasn't alone. And slowly, I started sharing my story, helping others recognize the warning signs before it was too late. I even started a blog, The Wedding That Never Was. I wrote about manipulation tactics, financial red flags, how to protect yourself while still loving your family. Within months, I was getting emails from people all over the country, parents who'd narrowly avoided similar situations, adult children who'd recognized their own partner's predatory behavior in time. My pain had become purpose. 6 months after the trial, Leo met Rachel. She was a middle school teacher, 31 years old with warm brown eyes, an infectious laugh, and absolutely no interest in anyone's bank account. The contrast was stark and immediate. Rachel wanted to meet me, not avoid me. She paid for her own meals, never forgot her wallet. She talked about building a future with Leo, not about what he could give her. She asked about my life, my interests, my dreams, treating me like a person, not an ATM. After their first dinner at my house, Leo walked Rachel to her car, then came back inside. "So?" he asked nervously. "What do you think?" "I like her," I said honestly. "I like her very much." "Me too." His smile was genuine, reaching his eyes in a way I hadn't seen in 2 years. "And Mom, she actually wants to know you, not avoid you, not manipulate you, just know you." My life blossomed too. I returned to book club regularly, took an art class at the community college, and started volunteering at the literacy center twice a week. My friend Susan convinced me to try online dating. "You're 66, not dead," she'd said firmly, shoving a laptop at me. I'd been skeptical, but I went on a few coffee dates. Most were pleasant, but unmemorable. Then I met Michael, a retired history professor with kind eyes, a dry sense of humor, and a respectful understanding of boundaries. We took things slow. Coffee became dinners. Dinners became walks in the park. Walks became attendance at each other's book clubs and volunteer events. "I'm not looking to replace Robert," I told him one evening. "I'm not trying to," Michael replied gently. "I'm just enjoying getting to know Sheila." It was enough. 1 year after that nightmare text message, Leo threw me a surprise party. I walked into my living room to find 20 people shouting, "Surprise!" Susan and the book club ladies, my support group friends, neighbors, Leo's coworkers, Rachel, Michael. "What are we celebrating?" I asked, confused and touched. "You," Leo said simply. "We're celebrating you for being brave enough to fight, for saving me when I couldn't save myself, for being the strongest person I know." I cried, happy tears this time. 2 years after the sentencing, Leo and Rachel got married. It was a small, simple ceremony at a local botanical garden. 20 close friends and family. No elaborate venue, no expensive photographer, no designer dress. Just love, commitment, and genuine joy. Budget, $3,000, which they paid themselves. I walked Leo down the aisle, both of us crying happy tears. At the reception, Leo stood to give a toast. to my mother," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "who loved me enough to tell me a truth I didn't want to hear, who fought for me when I couldn't fight for myself, who showed me what real strength looks like. Mom, I'm the man I am today because of you." I could barely see through my tears as everyone raised their glasses. Life wasn't perfect. I'd still lost $13,000 permanently. Leo was still paying off debt. Trust was a fragile thing we were rebuilding piece by piece. But we'd survived. We'd grown. And we'd learned. Meanwhile, Saskia remained in prison. Detective Torres kept me updated periodically. Saskia had been written up repeatedly for manipulating inmates, running commissary scams, attempting to contact victims in violation of restraining orders. 14 months were added to her sentence. "Some people never change," Detective Torres said. "She's one of them. It's been 3 years now since that text message changed everything. I'm standing in my living room, the same room where I once read those devastating words, 'Don't come to the wedding.' Now Leo and Rachel's wedding photo sits on the mantel. Michael's coming for dinner. My support group has helped 12 other families avoid similar fates. My blog reaches thousands of people every month. Life isn't perfect. The scar tissue is still there, in my bank account, in Leo's credit report, in the wariness we both carry into new relationships. But we're here. We're whole. We're happy." I walked to Robert's photo on the bookshelf and traced the frame gently. "We did okay with him," I whisper. He stumbled, but he got back up, just like you taught him. Outside my window, stars emerge in the darkening sky. Somewhere Saskia sits in a cell, bitter and unchanged, blaming everyone but herself. But here, in this house, there's peace. Hard-won, battle-scarred peace. And that's victory enough. So that's my story. What did I learn? That love without boundaries isn't love, it's enablement. That standing up for what's right is terrifying but necessary. That trusting your instincts can save your life or your child's life. If you're facing something similar, please don't ignore the warning signs. Financial manipulation. Isolation from family. Excessive control. These aren't love, they're abuse. Speak up, get help, fight back. Even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. To those who've survived similar situations, you're not alone. Your strength matters. Your story matters. And remember, you deserve relationships built on respect, not exploitation. Your money is yours to give freely, not to have extracted through lies. Trust your gut. It's rarely wrong. Set boundaries. They're not cruel, they're necessary. And never apologize for protecting the people you love, even when the person you're protecting them from is someone they love.